Well, Bruce Willis dropped in the other day.
And now Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Oh, no. You are so cool. You know, you are really cool.
The man who once made us believe that one person could take down an entire building full of terrorists can no longer speak a single word. Bruce Willis, the action hero who defined what it meant to be tough on the big screen, has been fighting the most difficult battle of his life, and it's one that he cannot win. On August 15, 2025, Bruce moved into a specialized care facility, and his family is spending over $200,000 every year just to keep him safe and comfortable. The actor who used to shout his famous lines over massive explosions now communicates only through small gestures and the occasional smile. But this story isn't just about a disease taking away one of Hollywood's biggest stars. It's about a family that's been quietly dealing with heartbreak while the world watched, not knowing that their beloved father and husband was slowly disappearing right in front of their eyes. What his wife Emma recently revealed will shock you, because she admits that for years, she thought Bruce was just being distant and moody. She had no idea that his brain was literally dying, stealing away pieces of the man she fell in love with one memory at a time. Today, we're going to tell you the complete story of Bruce Willis's tragic decline, from the early warning signs that everyone missed to the heartbreaking moment when his family had to make the impossible decision to move him out of their home. This is a story about love, loss, and the cruel reality of disease that doesn't care how famous or tough you are. It's also a story about a family that refuses to give up hope, even when hope seems impossible to find. Bruce Willis was born on March 19, 1955, in a small German town called Idar-Oberstein. His father was an American soldier who had been stationed there after World War II, and his mother was a German woman from the local area. From his very first breath, Bruce's world was caught between two different cultures. He grew up on a military base, surrounded by the lingering memories of a devastating war, trying to balance American military discipline with German traditions and customs. When Bruce was just 2 years old, everything in his life changed completely. In 1957, his father decided to leave the Army, and the entire family packed up their belongings and moved across the Atlantic Ocean to New Jersey. Suddenly, little Bruce wasn't a boy from Germany anymore. He was just another kid in a tough American neighborhood, surrounded by factory workers and families who were struggling to make ends meet. His father found work in a metal factory, and his mother took small jobs at local banks to help support the family. They didn't have much money, and Bruce often felt like he didn't really belong anywhere. He wasn't fully German, but he wasn't completely American either. He was stuck somewhere in between, trying to figure out where he fit in this new world. As Bruce entered elementary school in the early 1960s, something happened that would change the course of his entire life. Around the age of 6, he developed a severe stutter that made it incredibly difficult for him to speak clearly. Words would get stuck in his throat, and sometimes it would take him several minutes just to get out a single sentence. The other kids at school were cruel about it, giving him the nickname Buck Buck and laughing at him whenever he tried to talk. The stutter didn't just affect his speech. It completely destroyed his confidence and made him feel isolated from everyone around him. Bruce tried to fight back against the bullying with his fists, swinging wildly at anyone who made fun of him, but the shame of not being able to speak properly haunted him every single day. By the time he was 10 years old, school had become a battlefield where he was constantly defending himself against mockery and cruelty. High school could have been the breaking point for Bruce. He started skipping classes regularly just to avoid being called on to speak in front of other students. He pulled pranks and caused disruptions to distract people from noticing his speech problems. But then something miraculous happened. Around the age of 15, in the early 1970s, Bruce decided to take a chance and join his school's drama club. The moment he stepped onto the stage and began reading lines from a script, something incredible occurred. His stutter completely disappeared. It was like magic. When he was pretending to be someone else, the words flowed freely and clearly without any hesitation or fear. For the first time in his life, people actually listened to what he had to say instead of laughing at how he said it. Teachers were amazed by this transformation. Bruce quickly realized that acting didn't just give him a way to speak clearly. It gave him back his voice and his confidence. When he became another character, all his fears and insecurities seemed to melt away, replaced by the personality of whoever he was pretending to be. This discovery changed everything about Bruce's life. By 1973, his newfound confidence had grown so much that he was elected student council president. Even though some kids still occasionally mocked his stutter when he wasn't acting, he no longer cared as much. He had found something that made him feel truly alive and confident for the first time since childhood. In 1975, while studying theater at Montclair State University, Bruce received speech therapy from two professors who helped him gain even more control over his stutter. But by 1977, he was getting restless with school. He felt ready to chase something bigger than just studying acting. He wanted to actually do it professionally. With no money in his pocket and no connections in the entertainment industry, Bruce dropped out of college and moved to New York City. He was determined to make it as an actor, but survival came first. He worked long, exhausting hours as a bartender just to pay for food and rent. Sometimes when money got really tight, he had to sleep on friends' couches or in tiny, cramped apartments with multiple roommates. But even during these difficult times, Bruce found ways to entertain people. He would skate to work, play the harmonica for tips on street corners, and turn the bar where he worked into his own personal stage. He made customers laugh with his jokes and impressions, treating every shift like a performance opportunity. Those early years in New York were incredibly hard. Bruce faced more than 100 rejections in his first year alone. Casting directors would take one look at him and decide he wasn't right for their projects. But slowly, little by little, he started landing small roles in off-Broadway shows. His first real part came in 1977 in a play called Heaven and Earth. The pay was terrible and the rejections kept coming, but Bruce refused to give up. Sometimes when things got really bad, he even had to sleep on park benches because he couldn't afford a place to stay. But people in the theater community started to notice his talent and determination. He began getting small roles in television commercials and tiny parts in movies. In 1980, he even got to appear in a brief scene with the legendary Frank Sinatra. One night, while working as a bartender, Bruce got into a fight while trying to protect someone who was being harassed. His nose was broken so badly that he needed emergency surgery. Doctors warned him that the injury might permanently damage his voice, which would have ended his acting dreams before they really began. Fortunately, he recovered completely, though the injury left him with a small scar that actually gave him a tougher, more interesting look. During the struggling period in New York, Bruce formed friendships that would last for decades. He met John Goodman while they were both working behind the counter at a place called Chelsea Central. Together, they performed wild, improvised plays that left small crowds absolutely amazed. They were both practically broke, earning just a few dollars each week, but their passion for acting was genuine and powerful. They would perform without scripts, shouting and crying, and throwing themselves completely into every moment. These raw, emotional performances helped Bruce develop the timing and energy that would eventually make him a movie star. He was learning to connect with audiences in a way that felt completely natural and unforced. Then, in 1985, everything in Bruce's life changed forever. He walked into an audition for a new television show called Moonlighting. About 3,000 actors wanted the lead role, including established radio personalities and formally trained performers. ABC rejected Bruce 11 times, but he kept coming back for more auditions. Finally, he showed up one last time with a completely shaved head, earrings, an attitude that simply couldn't be ignored. He improvised his lines during the audition and made the producers laugh so hard that they knew immediately he was the one they wanted. The outsider with the childhood stutter had beaten out thousands of other actors for a role that would make him famous. Moonlighting premiered on March 3, 1985, and Bruce Willis became a household name literally overnight. The show was chaotic and expensive to produce, often taking twice as long to film as most other television shows. Episodes were incredibly long, sometimes running 120 pages instead of the usual 60, but Bruce's charm, quick wit, and unpredictable energy made it a massive hit with audiences. However, success came with its own problems. Bruce clashed frequently with his co-star Sybil Shepherd. By 1986, tensions on the set were so high that they would argue and snap at each other before filming scenes, and sometimes they refused to speak to each other when the cameras weren't rolling. The pressure became so intense that Bruce actually collapsed from exhaustion in 1988 and had to be hospitalized. Scripts were constantly delayed, ratings began to drop, but somehow the electric chemistry between Bruce and Sybil, even when they were fighting, kept fans completely hooked on the show. Behind the scenes, Bruce was burning out from the stress and overwork, but in front of the camera, he was absolutely magnetic. While all this television drama was happening, Bruce shocked everyone by doing something completely unexpected. In January 1987, he released a music album called The Return of Bruno. Nobody expected a television star to have any success in the music industry, but Bruce proved them all wrong. The album went gold with 500,000 copies sold, and it even reached number 2 on the UK charts. Critics rolled their eyes and made fun of the idea of an actor trying to be a singer, but fans didn't care what the critics thought. Bruce sang with soul music legends and turned the whole project into something truly memorable. It was strange, bold, and fun, just like Bruce himself. But the constant grind of filming moonlighting episodes that cost over $1 million each was pushing him to his absolute limit. His co-star's pregnancy in 1987 caused even more delays in production, and a major writer's strike in 1988 nearly shut the show down completely. On May 14, 1989, Moonlighting finally ended after 5 successful but exhausting seasons. Bruce had given everything he had to the show, and by the time it was over, his name was already being mentioned for major movie roles in Hollywood. His television salary had skyrocketed from $1,500 per episode to $50,000, a massive leap that showed just how valuable he had become to the entertainment industry. But nobody, including Bruce himself, could have predicted what would happen next. At the time, Bruce Willis wasn't supposed to become an action movie star. He was mainly known as a charming, wisecracking guy from Moonlighting, and nobody expected him to land a lead role in a big-budget action film. But in a strange twist of fate, a script called Die Hard was making its way through Hollywood in the late 1980s. Major stars like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone had already turned down the role. Even Frank Sinatra was offered the part because the story was technically a sequel to something he had starred in decades earlier, but he passed on it too. Then, completely out of nowhere, Bruce Willis got the offer that would change his entire career. What shocked everyone in the industry wasn't just that he was chosen for the role, but that the studio was willing to pay him $5 million. That was the kind of money usually reserved for established superstars like Dustin Hoffman or Robert Redford. People in Hollywood thought the studio executives had completely lost their minds by betting so much money on a television actor. Filming began in late 1987, and most of the movie was shot inside the Fox Plaza building in Los Angeles. When Die Hard was released on July 15, 1988, absolutely no one had any idea that it would become the massive hit that it did. The movie made over $140 million worldwide and instantly transformed Bruce Willis from a television star into a full-blown action hero. But success came with a serious price. During one of the many explosive stunt sequences, a loud detonation went off too close to Bruce, causing permanent partial hearing loss in his left ear. He kept this injury quiet at the time so that production wouldn't be interrupted, but years later it was revealed that the damage never fully healed and became part of the health issues that would follow him for the rest of his life. Still, that rough-edged, relatable energy that Bruce brought to the character John McClane changed everything about action movies. He didn't look like a traditional superhero with bulging muscles and a perfect physique. He looked like a regular guy who was caught in an impossible situation and was just trying to survive, and audiences absolutely loved him for that authenticity. Just 1 year later, Bruce did something that nobody expected. He signed on to provide the voice for a talking baby in a movie called Look Who's Talking. It sounded like a ridiculous idea, but the surprise wasn't just the concept. It was how much money he made. For just 4 days of voice recording work, Bruce took home $10 million. The reason he earned so much was because he negotiated a smart deal that gave him a percentage of the movie's profits. The film itself was made for less than $10 million, but it ended up making almost $300 million worldwide. Bruce's voice, full of charm and sarcasm, became a huge hit with families everywhere. The movie spawned a franchise, and he earned another $10 million for the sequel. People started realizing that Bruce wasn't just lucky, he was also incredibly smart about business. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Bruce continued to take on a wide variety of roles. He appeared in serious dramas like Pulp Fiction, where director Quentin Tarantino cast him as a boxer who refuses to throw a fight. Even though he only made $800,000 for that role, which was much less than his usual fee, he didn't care because he believed in the story. The film went on to earn over $200 million and win an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. He also starred in science fiction films like 12 Monkeys, where he lost 20 pounds and visited mental hospitals to prepare for playing a broken man from a post-apocalyptic future. During filming, he even fractured his shoulder performing a dangerous stunt, but he kept working despite the injury. In 1997, Bruce surprised audiences again with The Fifth Element, a wild, colorful, futuristic film where he played a taxi driver who becomes Earth's last hope. The movie cost almost $90 million to make, which was a record at the time, and Bruce did many of his own stunts even though he hated the tight orange costume he had to wear. Then came 1998 and Armageddon, where Bruce played Harry Stamper, a tough oil driller sent to stop an asteroid from destroying Earth. The movie made more than $553 million worldwide, making it the biggest film of the year. But things behind the scenes were difficult. Bruce fought constantly with director Michael Bay over scenes that were cut, especially the emotional family moments that he felt were important to the story. Despite the movie's huge success and 4 Oscar nominations, Bruce actually won a Razzie Award for Worst Actor in 1999, which was a strange and somewhat unfair recognition for such a popular film. Bruce's personal life during this period was also making headlines. In 1987, he met actress Demi Moore at a movie screening while she was still engaged to someone else. But just 4 months later, on November 21st, 1987, Bruce and Demi got married in Las Vegas. Demi later said the wedding wasn't even planned. They were on their way to gamble when Bruce suggested they just get married right then and there. They became parents to 3 daughters, Rumor in 1988, Scout in 1991, and Tallulah in 1994. Bruce and Demi tried to balance their careers and family life by taking turns with movie roles, so that one parent would always be home with the children. But fame brought its own stresses and pressures. In 1998, after 11 years of marriage, Bruce and Demi separated. Their divorce was finalized in October 2000, and even though it looked peaceful on the surface, they fought behind closed doors over their $200 million fortune. Bruce ended up paying Demi up to $90 million, making it one of the most expensive Hollywood divorces in history. Surprisingly, Bruce and Demi managed to stay close even after their divorce. Demi was present at Bruce's 2009 wedding to Emma Hemming, and in 2019, when Bruce and Emma renewed their vows, Demi joined the family celebration. They even spent the 2020 COVID lockdown together in Idaho with all the children, sharing happy photos on social media. In 2009, Bruce married British model Emma Hemming, who was 24 years younger than him. They had met 2 years earlier on the set of a movie called Perfect Stranger. Despite the age difference, he was 54 and she was 30, they seemed genuinely happy together. They had 2 daughters, Mabel in 2012 and Evelyn in 2014. But by 2015, people who worked with Bruce started noticing some concerning changes in his behavior. He began appearing in many low-budget, straight-to-video action movies, sometimes making up to 5 of these films per year. His performances started feeling hollow and disconnected, lacking the spark and energy that had made him famous. One of these films was called Vice, where he played the owner of a resort filled with lifelike androids. Critics hated the movie, calling it dull and lazy. Behind the scenes, people noticed that Bruce seemed confused during filming and sometimes had trouble remembering his lines or understanding directions from the director. At the time, many people assumed that Bruce was just taking these roles for easy money, but looking back now, it's clear that these were early warning signs of the serious health problems that were developing in his brain. In March 2022, Bruce's family released a statement that changed everything. They announced that Bruce had been diagnosed with aphasia, a brain condition that affects a person's ability to communicate, and that he was immediately stepping away from acting. He was 67 years old. The news hit fans in the entertainment industry like a shockwave. Suddenly, all those strange performances in recent films made perfect sense. Bruce had been struggling with speech and communication problems, sometimes relying on earpieces during filming, or even using body doubles for scenes that required a lot of dialogue. Some directors had to completely restructure their filming schedules to work around Bruce's confusion and memory problems. For an actor who had once commanded movie screens with just a look or a single line of dialogue, watching his communication abilities deteriorate was absolutely heartbreaking. By February 2023, the situation became even worse. Doctors confirmed that Bruce's condition had progressed into frontotemporal dementia, a rare and incurable disease that slowly strips away a person's personality, language abilities, and physical mobility. This type of dementia is particularly cruel because it often affects people while they're still relatively young and physically healthy. Emma later revealed that for years, she had thought Bruce was just becoming distant and moody. She had no idea that it wasn't really him changing. It was a disease literally destroying parts of his brain. His once lively charm began to fade away. His movements became slower and more uncertain. He spoke less and less, until eventually he barely spoke at all. On August 15th, 2025, Bruce's family had to make the most difficult decision of their lives. They moved him into a specialized care facility that could provide the 24-hour medical attention he needed. Emma called it the hardest decision she had ever had to make in her life. Their daughters, Mabel and Evelyn, were just 13 and 11 years old. Emma made the painful choice to move Bruce out of their main house because she wanted to protect the girls from witnessing the worst effects of their father's decline. The specialized care home costs more than $200,000 per year, but Emma and the family are willing to pay whatever it takes to ensure that Bruce is safe and comfortable. The family still visits Bruce often, sharing meals together and try and find moments of laughter and connection when they can. But Emma has admitted publicly that it feels like their entire world has been shattered by this disease. By mid-2025, Bruce could no longer speak at all. The man who once shouted his famous lines over massive explosions in action movies now communicates only through small gestures, facial expressions, and the occasional smile. And yet sometimes, just sometimes, he will suddenly laugh with that same booming, unmistakable laugh that made him famous. Or he will hear a song from his 1987 album, The Return of Bruno, and something will briefly light up in his eyes. These moments happen maybe just a few times each week, but they are absolutely priceless to his family. They serve as tiny reminders that somewhere deep inside, the Bruce Willis they love is still there, even though the disease has stolen so much of who he used to be. Emma has become an advocate for dementia awareness, sharing their family story to help other families who are dealing with similar struggles. She wants people to understand that this disease doesn't just affect the person who has it. It affects everyone who loves them. The Bruce Willis story is ultimately a reminder that fame and success cannot protect anyone from the cruel realities of disease and aging. The man who seemed invincible on movie screens, who could take on entire armies of bad guys and always come out on top, is now fighting a battle that cannot be won. But it's also a story about love, family, and the power of holding on to hope even in the darkest circumstances. Bruce's family refuses to give up on him, even though they know that the disease will continue to take more and more of him away. They continue to visit, to share meals, to look for those precious moments when his eyes light up with recognition or when that famous laugh breaks through the silence. The entertainment world has lost one of its most beloved action heroes. But Bruce Willis the person is still here, surrounded by people who love him unconditionally. His family is determined to make sure that whatever time he has left is filled with as much comfort, dignity, and love as possible. This heartbreaking journey reminds all of us to cherish the time we have with the people we love, because we never know when circumstances beyond our control might change everything. Bruce Willis gave us decades of entertainment, laughter, and unforgettable movie moments. Now, as he faces his greatest challenge, our thoughts and support are with him and his family during this incredibly difficult time. What do you think about Bruce Willis's courageous battle with dementia? Have you or someone you know been affected by this devastating disease? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below, because stories like Bruce's remind us of the importance of supporting each other through life's most difficult challenges. If this story touched your heart like it touched mine, please hit that like button to show your support for Bruce and his family. Your likes help spread awareness about dementia and let other families know they're not alone in their struggles. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest updates on your favorite celebrities and the important stories that matter to all of us. Share this video with friends and family who have been fans of Bruce Willis over the years, because I know they'll want to send their love and support to a man who has given us so many incredible movie memories. Thanks for watching, and remember to hold your loved ones a little closer today. Life is precious and unpredictable, and every moment we have together is a gift that should never be taken for granted.